I was half asleep, snatched away from dreams of my wedding day, when my phone chirped. Short, high-pitched sounds that would send any dog insane. I pawed the screen, assuming it was my alarm, until I noticed my fiancé's name with 2 pink hearts beside it. A FaceTime notification. Michael barely texted me, let alone called me, so I assumed it was a mistake. A butt dial. But I was awake now and needed to whine about him ruining my sleep, so I answered the call. I expected the contact brown eyes and buzz cut, but not the dried blood. On his chin, beneath his nose, across his cheek. He was handcuffed to his radiator. Not the flimsy cuffs we store in the closet for sex, but shiny metal restraints. Duct tape covered his mouth, and a thick, frayed rope circled his waist. That was tied too tight, dug in too deep. I can imagine the pain, the itch. And standing beside Michael's limp body, there was a man. I could only see his leg, his sleek black trousers, and one hand holding a Glock.
You like books, don't you, Tanya?
I flinched at my name.
I've seen your shelves, with a little bit of everything: mystery, science fiction, fantasy, horror.
Michael tried to speak. I can see the tape creasing, but whatever came out sounded like muffled barks.
It's time for you to be the star of the story. Unfortunately, this one won't have a happy ending.
I wanted to call 911 to text 911, but I couldn't open up any other page on my phone while FaceTiming. I was stuck.
Let's start with a mystery. Go through your closet. There's a clue hidden inside.
I could have ran from the room, hung up the phone, gotten help, but I had a feeling that the gun would go off if I did that. The stranger would kill Michael if I acted out. After all, the Glock was right there. The man could pull the trigger before the cops switched on their siren, before they even received a radio call. I had to comply. I had to give him what he wanted. I had to. When I reached my closet, I slid the hangers to the side one by one. Shirts, jeans, skirts, dresses. And one of those dresses, my favorite dress, the dress I had worn when I first met Michael, had dark blood splatters across the breasts, over the neckline and down the sleeves.
Guess whose blood that is, Tanya?
I bent my knees to vomit, but nothing came out. No chunks, no saliva, no words. I didn't have time to think, to feel, because the stranger gave me specific instructions. Put on my Bluetooth headset and slip the phone in my pocket. Buy a bus ticket and ride to 217th Street. Wait in the lobby of the apartment building across the road. No talking to strangers, answering him out loud, or even glancing at a cop. Or he would blow Michael's brains out. I felt dizzy the entire walk down the road, my fingertips as shaky as my lower lip. When I reached the bus, I paid for a seat to rest my wobbling knees, but of course I was stuck standing, slippery hands against the overhead pole.
Let's try erotica this time.
I strained to hear him as the bus pulled away from the stop, jerking me to the left. I almost fell on the guy sitting next to me, but caught myself at the last second.
I want you to touch yourself.
I choked back a laugh. What kind of sick request was that? Did he even have a camera on me? My phone was in my pocket. He couldn't see me anymore. Could he?
Do it.
I heard the click of a gun. More muffles from Michael.
Now.
I hovered my hand across my crotch, lightly brushing the fingertips against the fabric. I tried to make it look like my hand was swaying from the movement of the bus. Like it was natural, accidental.
You have to do better than that. Moan.
Was he out of his fucking mind? If I made a scene, I was gonna get thrown off the bus, arrested for public indecency, but maybe that would be a good thing. Maybe it would ruin his plan. So I did it. I placed my hands between my legs on the silk of the pajama pants I was still wearing. Rocked my fingers back and forth, releasing the tiniest moans. I wanted to die. There were people on that bus I knew. Not my name, but my face. Neighbors I stumbled across at the grocery store. What the hell would they think of me? I never found out because they kept their comments locked inside. No one said a word, at least not with their lips, but their eyes told their own stories. The woman standing in front of me kept craning her head, glaring. Teenager sitting to my left giggled. The man to my right, the one I almost collapsed on, was smirking, like I was giving him a free show. My cheeks turned to cherry by the time we reached my stop, but I ignored the humiliation to focus on my instructions. Walk across the street, into the apartment buildings, sit down at the bench across from the elevators. Dozens of people passed by, paying no attention to the homeless-looking girl with bedhead and flannel. I must have been there for at least 15 minutes before a woman in her 20s, carrying an infant, stepped inside the elevator.
Go inside now. Follow them.
I did. It was a type of folding lattice doors, the type that stopped the machine midair if you opened them. The woman jabbed the button for the top floor with her thumb, and the machine clunked to life. I didn't press anything, so she gave me a look. Scared even before she had a reason to be.
It's time for horror. Open the elevator door.
I yanked it open. No hesitation. I can hear the woman ask me what I was doing, shielding the baby's head with her palm.
Reach into the pocket of your pajama pants.
I kept one hand on the door and slipped the other inside. Wrapped my fingers around something oval, wooden. A pocket knife. How the hell did that get in there? How did I not notice it on the bus?
Kill one of them. You get to choose.
I shook my head, rested it against the door, pressing my forehead hard enough to leave crisscrosses against the skin.
It's one life. Either she dies or your fiancé dies. Those are your choices.
I shoved a fist into my mouth and bit down on the knuckle, thinking about how anyone who claimed all people were equal spouted bullshit. Occupations didn't matter, neither did gender or age. What mattered was whether you loved the person or not. If they meant anything to you or were just another body. Michael was the love of my life. And she was a nobody. I twisted my neck just enough to make eye contact and asked her to put the baby down. She called me a bitch, told me to close the damn door and to let her home until I popped the blade from the knife. She got quiet, placed the baby in the corner with its blanket tucked around it like a shadow. Tears slid out of the mother, but I told her not to worry, that I wasn't going to hurt her baby. and then I cut her throat. Blood spurted from the slit in her flesh and stained my top, but only for a moment. Only until she collapsed and made a fresh puddle on the ground.
It's time for science fiction and fantasy. Drink her blood.
The baby didn't cry or whimper or whine. It just sat there, wriggling, unaware of what I'd done, what I still had to do.
This is the last thing. After this, you get to see Michael.
I lowered myself onto my knees, dipped a finger into her blood, and sucked it off.
Do better.
I squeezed my eyes shut, tight, and bent over her corpse, pretending I was lapping juice. Pretending that's what it all was, juice sliding across my tongue, squeezing down my throat, staining my lips. I must have swallowed at least a pint of it before I heard the voice again.
Okay, finish the fairy tale. Grab the baby and go to room 515.
I found the keys in my back pocket during the run down the hall. When I unlocked the door, Michael was still on the floor, struggling to break out of his cuffs, and beside him, with a Glock in hand, was the faceless stranger, skin as white as tissue. Except it wasn't a man at all. It was only a mannequin, hand wrapped in duct tape to keep the Glock stuck to his hand. And just like that, the illusion vanished. I couldn't play pretend anymore. I was thrown out of my story, tossed back into reality. "This is your other apartment, isn't it?" I asked. "I knew you weren't away for work all those nights. I knew you were cheating. I'm not stupid, Michael. I'm not a fucking idiot." I bent down to his level and ripped the tape from his mouth. Tanya, please put down my daughter." I forgot I'd been holding the baby. His baby. His whore's baby. The one that he'd been hiding from me for months. The one that gave me the idea to create a fairy tale of my own. "Just so you know, your mistress is dead. Some psycho killed her in the elevator." I said it while looking at my phone, like we were having a casual conversation, the type we used to have back when he was loyal. Of course, that phone screen was black. It had been black all day. I'd never received a call. I'd just been pretending, playing a character, having a conversation with the voices inside of my head. Truth was, I'd gone to Michael early that morning, put a gun against his temple, tied him up after leaving a good few cuts and bruises, and then drove home to wash the gunk off of me, put my bloody dress back in the closet, and tucked the knife and stolen keys into my pajama pockets. A few hours after that, I pretended to answer his FaceTime, pretended that I had to play the hero and rescue the love of my life, pretended that my fiancé actually loved me. But that wasn't the truth at all. He wasn't the boy that came home with flowers and chocolates. He was a cheater. And I wasn't the girl that would cross the earth to rescue him. I was a masochist, a killer. I'd climaxed on that bus. I'd had a smile on my face as I murdered that woman, as I swallowed her blood. And I'd have another smile as I shot my fiancé through the teeth. Ghouls, I hope you enjoyed this scary story. It was a little risque, but I feel like it needed to be done in the story so you can wrap your head around how this woman was thinking. You know what I mean? I thought it was good. The story was great. The secret word will be 10, like the number 10. Since we hit 10K last week. So just talk about the number 10. I don't know. In the comments. But, yes, as always, guys, the last video will be on the top left. The next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.